All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Lessons from Leaders. Today we're joined by none other than the bucket list guy himself, Trav as well.
Hello. G'day, Marv. How are everyone?
Good. Tell us, where in the world are you right now?
I am currently in sunny Ocean Grove, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Melbourne.
Now, I met you, I think, a couple of years back, and I learned a lot from you since, and I have been trying to pay it forward to a lot of people. And I guess now the best way I could do that is to actually bring you to my network. So is it okay if I ask you a few questions today?
Oh, for sure, man.
How would you define a bucket list?
It's pretty straightforward. It's actually got negative connotations because based on the movie that people may or may not have seen. It was a pretty crappy movie, by the way. But I've based my whole life on it. But because it was about two guys that got given a cancer diagnosis, and then they wrote a bucket list, and then they started to go and do that bucket list. It's an urban term, the bucket list. But, my mission is to help people not wait until they get a use-by date. But a bucket list is just basically all the cool stuff you want to do before you kick the bucket, before you leave this earth, so to speak. And that's a really nice way to put it, I think.
So you have made a big thing of what you call the bucket list lifestyle. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, look, we're always, we spend a great deal of our life in work or in our businesses. A bucket list life is actually, it fully bringing home the work to live principle, which we sometimes forget about, don't we? We're not here to just pay bills and die. There's got to be light at the end of the tunnel. And a bucket list, look, it's a heap of, very personally meaningful and holistic carrots to get up out of bed in the morning, to go out and achieve for or towards. Mm-hmm. And I just say a bucket list lifestyle really is about creating a work-life blend rather than work-life balance. So work-life balance is BS, and I won't swear, is a 90s term that was thrown around to make us all feel better. But I'm tipping that your guys, Marv, are quite obsessed about what they do. They love growing their businesses. Mm. And so work-life balance is a thing of, it's theoretical. It never happens. If you're obsessed and you're growing a great company, you're not going to be balanced, at all. I call it, let's go with work-life blend. So it encompasses the principle of work-life blend. Depict all the things that you want to do in your life, the kind of impact that you want to have, the legacies that you want to lead, not just about the things that you want to buy, the mountains that you want to climb, and then find something that's really cool to fund it, that gives you the time flow and the cash flow to do the things on your bucket list. And, I think that's the holy grail, mate. I think it's the holy grail when you can find something really cool to fund it that doesn't do your head in on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? It spits out, because, as you know, and as you are one of the world's best at helping people do this, it's about helping people really refine their vehicle, whatever that vehicle is, to spit out the time flow and the cash flow for people that people need to go and do the stuff that they really want to do. Hopefully, from all the awards and stuff you get, mate, there's no doubt that your clients, listen to you. That's why I think coaching is a great thing, because they just help you collapse timeframes to get there quicker. Mm-hmm. And so, I want to help people live a bucket list lifestyle, and really fall in love with what their vehicle, that is, it's a values alignment for them. It's actually a thing that doesn't do their head in on a day-to-day basis, because you and I both know there's so many people that go to work every single day and actually hate what they do. Something like 75% of people hate what they do. Really? Yeah. So you can spend 40 years of your life doing something that you hate for, in this delayed gratification society, I'll be happy when syndrome, I'm going to wait for the perfect time or some day to come around for me to do the things that I really want to do. Often that day comes too late. We're too sick to take advantage of it. So really, we share the same value and wanting to help people get to that quicker. Get and be happy now. Be fulfilled now.
A couple of really cool points that I get there. Number one is, I love that term life blend, I guess work-life blend, because balance in itself is quite stressful.
It means 50,
it's tiring.
It means 50,
it's tiring, right?
doesn't it? It means 50-50. Who the hell wants 50-50? Like things suffer if you're obsessed about something, not to totally get rid of something to make, if you're growing a business, don't suddenly forget about the family or your health. God, no, they're the two highest values. But, there's got to be some give and take. But I think this whole balance thing, we've beaten ourselves up about it.
Yeah. And the other thing I really liked from what you said was the cash flow. Obviously, we all know that. And then the time flow, which I think a lot of people forget, right? They trade away the time straight away, pretty much right after university.
Time is, mate. Time is this thing that is the new rich. That's what they have. According to Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Yeah. Not that he's ever done a 4-hour work week, but the thing is, it's when was the last time, watchers and listeners of this, and Marv, you know all about this. When was the last time you went up to another business owner and you said, how are you, mate? We say this in Australia. How are you, mate? Yeah, good. I'm busy. I'm busy as a one-armed drummer. Just this busy, weird, busy badge of honor is this thing that we carry around with us, and it's the first thing we say. Yeah. When have you gone up to someone and said, "Oh, how are you, mate?" And they turn around and go, "Oh, I've got all the time in the world to speak to you right now." Like, never. Wouldn't that be cool? Everyone would think you're super weird if you did that. In this crazy
society.
It's society. It's the matrix. And, as you've seen me talk, I like to help people, not tell them what to do or what they should, must, or have to do. Is just offer another perspective on why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. I'd be interested for you to share a little bit about your tipping point. What was the point in your life that made you think this way and live this way?
I grew a business. My first business was I founded and franchised a chain of personal fitness training studios, the first to franchise personal training in Australia. Grew it from one client to a chain of 21 personal training studios, about 300 personal trainers working for us under that umbrella. And as a result, I grew it into a monster. I wasn't ready for the growth, and I sort of grew it beyond myself. I'm quite creative. And, there's a few people, to use the terminology, that wanted to put beetroot in the Big Mac. And I said, no, you cannot. And they said, well, I'm going to anyway. And I said, no, you can't. There's my letter. There's your letter. And there's a few of those cancerous kind of people within the network. It did my head in. I love the end product of personal training, don't get me wrong, but that business model at the time, for me at the time, things are a lot different now. It's amazing what you learn. And but I love the end product of personal training, but that sort of did my head in, and did it to the point where it just got on top of me. I went through depression. As a result, and when I say depression, in the work that I do now, I wasn't really depressed compared to some of the people who have been in my audiences. Oh my God, so I'd just like to say, things got pretty sad for me for a couple of years, and that was my tipping point. And I found myself in, personal development seminars, hugging it out and high-fiving and crying on the shoulders of strangers. And, we've all been, mate.
As did most of us, I think.
Yeah. I don't know you, but I'm going to confess everything right now, because I don't know you. But and a friend of mine helped me really compartmentalize what I was going through at the time. And he said to me, you're spending all this money, and I have spent a lot of money on personal development, positive psychology, blah, blah, blah. And I've just always been an avid learner. to help other people, whatever, help myself. And someone said to me, Trav, why don't you should be teaching this stuff. Why don't you teach stuff? You know, like you love helping people. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Well, I sort of went through the first 20 years of my life doing personal training. And now really as a speaker, I get to go not just help people in their health and fitness, but in all areas of their life, which is cool. But saying at least, and what we do as bucket list coaches is basically helping people, you know, with life coaching. But way cooler to say bucket list coach than life coach. And as a result, I could help people, and the one to many model as a speaker, I could coach one to many and affect more people in a short amount of time. That was my kind of tipping point, was when he helped me say, you know, why don't you go out? So I went out and I put on a really crappy seminar when I look back on it. I had about 40 people in the room, and I nearly had to pay people to be in the room. And Mum and Dad were at the back going, what the hell's he doing now? It was actually about halfway through the seminar, I started talking about my list to do before I die. I always had one written down since I was 18. Wherever I moved around in shared houses and whatnot, I always had my little list. And I shared my list, and I said, who else has got one of these? Because it always got me out of bed in the morning. You know, when times were tough, even through depression, it was one of my guiding lights, if you know what I mean. And so I shared this, and then I said, what about you guys? And they were like, nah, I was the only freak in the room. So anyway, long story short, room came alive. A crappy seminar went to a not so crappy seminar. And one of the ladies at the end of it said, oh, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. And I went, and, you know, one of the things that I talk about to entrepreneurs is congruency. You know, work out your values, work out what really lights you up, what gives you pleasure, what are your strengths, what gives you meaning. And in the middle of all that is your calling. And for me, I run my whole life through this bucket list filter, if you know what I mean. And it's just, I'm completely congruent with it. And those that know me, and we've become mates over the years, you know, I've got to be out there doing my bucket list first and foremost before I teach it. You know, I think that's the holy grail. If you can make money from something that you love, it's a beautiful thing.
And it gives you the time flow to do whatever you want to do in your list, right? And
plus all my bucket list things are now a tax write-off.
Yeah, even better. So speaking about your list, so you've gone through a lot of stuff. You've been to Machu Picchu. You've done, I think, what was the big hike, right? You've done the trail, the Kokoda Trail, and all that. So how do you decide about which one you go after next? Because I'm sure you have a big list, but how do you prioritize?
Yeah. Well, it's a really good question. Hey, how do you prioritize? Well, I got this little tool that I use with people. It's called the time money matrix. And you know, X and Y axis, time and money, and goes out by 3 years. Everything that I do with people, this is part of our new programs, is we get everyone to plot their bucket list on a time money matrix. And as a result, people realize, as have I, realize that a lot of the stuff that we want to do, we can actually do right now. We're just got to pay it attention. It's so not everything. See, when people think about their idea about bucket list, is it's been glamorized by travel. Travel is one of the 12 things within a bucket list. You know what I mean? And so as a result, you know, the travel side of things costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time, but it's not everything. That's, you know, the big Machu Picchu, Kokoda, it takes a lot of resources to get that done. But the thing is, people can live in a state of delayed gratification their whole life to get that sort of stuff done, to tick that stuff off. You know, I'll do that when I retire. I'll do that when I've got the money, when I've got the time. It's like, what do you just stay depressed until you've got that? It doesn't make sense. So be realistic. Put the small ones on, which is what I do. Put the small ones on there. So it gives you that momentum and motivation to smash through the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I guess for me, I'm working on, because I'm building the new company. I'm actually working on a bunch of them, but things that I can do right now. You know, solo skydive. I'm working on a solo skydive. Working on a backflip. Working on publishing a book. Stand-up comedy gig.
All right. Yeah, so it's really about what's relevant for your phase of life right now, isn't it? What is realistic given the time frame?
Totally. And also, how bad do you want it? You know, if I said, you know, if we looked at everything on that time money matrix or on your bucket list and said, all right, like seriously, if you had a year to live, you know, as unrealistic as that is, if you had a year to live, which ones would you do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and look at the level of motivation, apart from, you know, loving your loved ones and doing the stuff that you wanted to do with the kids. And, you know, we kind of get all that.
Yeah.
Let's be a little bit, I'll give everyone watching this permission to be a little bit selfish here. Okay. So what are some of the things that you'd do if you had that gun, but, you know, gun to your head kind of, that you're staring down the barrel of a use by date? One of the ones, what's your level of motivation? 10 being really motivated or inspired, let's say, rather than motivation, inspired versus 1. What's an example, mate? What's something on your bucket list, for instance?
For me, the big one right now, I think, would be I'd love to meet certain people. I'd love to meet the Foo Fighters. That's one thing. Been very inspired with their music. You know, love it. They made me learn the guitar, and then made me keep going.
There is something that I did not know about you, mate. Unreal.
Yeah, man. So I got to that concert last year in Singapore, but I didn't quite meet them yet. But that's something I'm going after.
There you go.
It just sparks joy for me. Yeah.
There you go. Some would call that, I mean, Dave Grohl's an inspirational dude. Yeah. Some would call that stalking, but I'd just call that pursuit of your dreams. I mean, and so, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you want to meet them? How bad do you want to meet them?
I'd say 8 right now, yeah.
So be willing to, you know, willing to invest some time and willing to travel somewhere and you'd be willing to do it. Whereas if I asked that of someone else, you know, how bad do you want to meet Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters? I'd be like, that, or they could be like, not at all.
Yeah.
So it's totally up to the individual, which is the beautiful part about all this. It's so individual. And there's always, see what you just did then, you identified the what, and you quickly came in with the how.
Yeah.
The why. You came in with the why. And that's what it's all about. Because they inspired you to play guitar and live that passion. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone's got a story or a why, a bigger reason for wanting to do the things and they want to. And that is the really the litmus test to their determination to go out and achieve that tick.
Yeah. Ultimately, I guess a lot of people always say someday. I'd like to do that someday. That just means they don't want it bad enough yet, right? It's usually someday means never.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, Bronnie Ware, the book I've just got in front of me there, is that the top 5 regrets of the dying. You know, and you know, that whole story, you know, there's so many people die with the fire within them, and we know so many people that live a regretful rather than a regret-free life. And mate, if I can have a hand coupling with my coaches, if we can have a hand at waking people up, giving them a framework, discovering their why, giving them some ninja hacks to collect time frames, to get really resourceful, Don't worry about too much about resources involved, but get resourceful. There's some really creative ways to achieve the things we want to achieve. Even if we haven't got the time and money, there's some really, really creative ways. People, I get sent stuff every single day from people who have just gone, out of their way to get creative about things. Again, when it's a t-shirt, it's a tattoo, when the why is strong enough, the how will work itself out.
One of the things that drew me to your way of thinking, I guess, was I've always said to my clients, you have to have a life plan before you have a business plan or a career plan, because ultimately those two things feed your life plan, right? I love your bucket list blueprint. Would you mind sharing just a simple overview of what it is?
Sure. Kids, get ready, get your pens and papers ready. And it's an interesting thing because, you said about life plan. I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan where our career plan or our business plan should fit into our life plan, not be the other way around. And again, it further enhances the work to live principle. But also a bucket list is not about just ticking a whole bunch of cool stuff off. It's the development of you. It's who you become, the growth of you along that journey, most importantly, and how you grow into yourself as a leader, not just for yourself, but in your life, and you become a great example for the people around you. And mate, it has a ripple effect into your ecosystem as well when you start to grow. And most importantly, and when you tick stuff off, it's more about the person that exists on the other side, the person that we don't know yet. That's called our potential. And when people see that, it's like, bang, I've done that 5K run. I've crossed that off my bucket list. And now they're sniffing around for the 10K. And now the half marathon, and now the marathon. I'll find one guy go from 5K through to Ironman doing exactly that, and his whole world changed, was a drinker, was an alcoholic, got off that, was depressed, not depressed, not getting laid, getting laid.
Total identity shift.
Yeah. And everyone at home has just suddenly got out their pens and paper. Oh, this is really important. But going from no opportunities to a dead-end job to a heap of opportunities and making more money. How does that happen? Because of him and his changes. It started with writing down first 5K on his bucket list. So the bucket list blueprint is a 12-step program. It sounds a bit like AA. You might need a drink after this, but it's a way to help people extract and then articulate a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. So it's an acronym, so My Bucket List. So the M stands for Meet a Personal Hero. Example for fighters. Y stands for your proud achievements. What are the things that you want to be really proud of before your time is up? It could be an education level, an award, Coach of the Year, Marv. It could be, a whole bunch of other things. Design and build your own house. B, buy that special something. This is the only materialistic part of it, whether it be for yourself or for someone else. U stands for ultimate challenges. 5K run as an example, getting outside. And don't believe the story that you've been led to believe about yourself. There's people that have just completely pivoted when challenged with this, I guess, they've pivoted on their priorities, number one, but they've just said, no, I don't want to be that person anymore, and I want to be the new me, and created a new normal out of this. C, conquer a fear. As again, on the other side of your bucket list is a you that you don't know yet. K, kind acts for others. So this is where it becomes really selfless. E stands for express yourself. What's the creative part of you? And that's often a part of us that we find flow in. T, take lessons. What are some skills that we want to learn before our time is up? I as an example, I learnt to play chess for the first time at the start of this year. Taught by my 11-year-old stepson. who kicked my ass. L stands for leave a legacy. How do you want to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
I is, I'm sure you love this one, mate. Idiotic stuff.
Oh yeah, all over it.
Example, and this is honestly one of the things, and I only use this example, is I want to do a stage dive, right, as part of one of my seminars.
Yeah.
Now, you'd probably have a better chance at doing that because you've actually got got a guitar in your hand. But it's just stupid stuff. Don't stop being a backpacker. Don't stop having fun. And I guess when we go through this midlife crisis, or should we call it awakening, we get a little bit too serious. We get families, we get mortgages. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, Trav, you've given me permission to have fun again. What? One of the titles of my keynotes, mate, as you know, is people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80.
Yeah.
They stop pushing the envelope. They stop going after challenges, and you can see them just becoming a sheeple, part of the matrix. I see dead people. S, this is where it gets a little weird. Satisfy a curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
We'll leave that to their imagination. Right?
Yeah. Satisfy curiosity. ... The cool thing about what I do now is, and this is becoming a tsunami, is I get sent, GoPro footage, videos, photos from people all around the world, from bucket listers all around the world, and they just inspire me. And I'm like, shit, that's a good idea. And now with our coaches spreading around the world, we're collecting these stories from people, and they're just weird and wonderful. And we've got a coach starting up over in, for instance, I put on Satisfy Curiosity, one for me while we're on the topic. I'm going to go live with the Amish. You know the Amish?
Yeah. I used to live in Pennsylvania.
What? Really?
Studied there. Not with the Amish, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there you go. Well, I'm preaching to the converted here. Well, so I've got no idea around any of that, and that just fascinates the hell out of me. I'm sure they'd hate for me to be turning up and going, hey, I'm
changing their world.
They'd hate that. But I don't know, we'll do it some way. But just experience your life. Go raise a barn or something. So the last one there is travel adventures, which everyone is, bucket lists are famous for. But I ask people to be really specific around that. And even though a lot of the travel, the seven wonders of the world, Taj Mahal, Christ the Redeemer, et cetera, yes, expensive for a lot of people, takes a lot of time. We have to coordinate life to get, to tick these ones off. But I'm suggesting that people start with a philosophy of being a tourist in your own town first.
Yeah.
And it's the attitude of carving out some time to concentrate, to write it down and then actively go pursue it and take people along on the journey. But be okay with going for it, And I do a lot of stuff in here in Australia, of course, and I'm like, have you actually climbed the Sydney Harbour Bridge? The Sydney Harbour, if you actually climbed it, and everyone's like, nah. Well, go do it. Go do this sort of stuff that's in our own backyard. Yeah. And so this attitude, because as Gary Vaynerchuk says, we're in the attention arbitrage business now. What are we paying attention to? Are we paying attention to the things that just allow us to exist, or are we paying attention to the stuff that really lights us up and allows us to live and get that feeling of fulfillment? And if they've got to get a coach to help them do that, fair enough. But at least we'll get it going, because we've all been to seminars. They've been to my seminars as well. Come away 8 foot and bulletproof, and then before you know it, they get stuck in their to-do list rather than their bucket list. Yeah. And I think that the first step for everyone watching and listening is people need to take time out of their lives to work on their lives and give it some thought. We use the blueprint. The coaches run through the blueprint with everyone, hold their hand, and then map out an action plan.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing as well that really got me from your bucket list blueprint is who do you want to share that with, right? Like each of these items, it makes it more emotional.
The impact of you as a leader, you know, and we're all leaders in our own lives, whether we're
Mm-hmm.
parents, whether we're partners or, you know, co-workers. We're a leader in some form or another. And, you know, when you start living your bucket list and your bucket list lifestyle, it has an osmosis effect. It really washes, it has a ripple effect into other people's lives, into your ecosystem. And the amazing result the has into other areas, it's just phenomenal. So people need to fall in love with, you know, the bigger version of themselves, and get excited, I think, about what can you really do in this life? And it's run now, hurry up. You know, people think they've got all the time in the world to do everything that they want. But unfortunately, you know, people haven't. So guys, get on with it. You know, get around Marv, get around these guys, and have people start, not from an ego point of view, but have people living vicariously through your life rather than you looking at their highlights reel and being disappointed with your behind the scenes footage.
Yeah, just create memories rather than going through other people's Instagram feeds, right?
Yeah, and take people along the journey. You know, they'll thank you for the rest of their life.
All right. Trav, I could always spend hours talking to you, but I've got one final question here, just so make sure the video is, you know, right for the attention span of most people. I do work with a lot of parents and teachers as well. You know, I run a school as well for young children. So what would you say to them? What are some of the advice that you would give to help children grow up to be able to live life fully, as opposed to just spending their youth preparing for a career or a profession?
Oh, wow. I just did a podcast the other day with a friend of mine called Nick Hallican. They call him the Thrillionaire. Mm-hmm. He has very, very strong opinions about school and college and all that sort of thing. He said, look, mate, you know, get everyone to take a gap year. There's a big movement towards that to breed, more importantly, tolerance. Mm-hmm. But you know, create, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be an accountant, you want to be an employee, cool. But also do a side hustle, do a business of some sort. The skills that you learn in doing your own business, again, have a ripple effect to every area of your life. And I think if you're relying on one stream of income, it's, you know, not really healthy anymore. You know, healthy these days anyway. So have a portfolio of income streams. You know, so I've got two 11-year-old boys, and they're looking at making their first dollar online very, very soon. Stuff that they're selling or creating, or so number one, that, and number two, travel. You know, definitely, you know, my advice is definitely travel, definitely create some sort of form of your own business. And what I teach adults in terms of the bucket list blueprint and stuff, no different to kids, no different to teenagers, none at all. We are just big kids. So I've done this work in schools from year 12-year-old up to 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, obviously. And it's all the same, dude. You know, they're of a rational mind where they know how much time and how much money each thing's going to take. And as a result, you know, they put some crazy stuff on there. But the last thing you want is your child, any of the, you know, the kids that you come into contact with, is not dream big. You know, you don't want them to dream small at all. If they want to put a Ferrari on there, go for it. If they want to put a Lambo, you know, big dream house, we're kind of doing that through our vision boards and bucket list boards anyway as adults. So why, you know, let's give them permission to really go nuts. And
let them build that muscle early.
Oh, totally. And not be let us and our stories possibly not be the ceiling to theirs.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, buddy. So always a pleasure, and people can get more information about what it is that you're up to in your website. I'll definitely post a link. Do you want to share about the latest on the coaches, Bucket List Life Coach?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, well, the main website is www.thebucketlistguy.com, and then we've got bucketlistcoach.com as well. So a lot of people see this and hear this, and they want to do a program. Rather than just seeing me in a seminar kind of format, we've got now bucket list coaches who are certified to go out there and do these programs with groups. So they can partner up with me and really go out there and help their communities or in their countries, which is really cool. So this is a way in which I can scale the message. So it's not just me, and this is my legacy. You know, I talk about legacy, and for ages I didn't have one. But if I want to, personally make an impact while I can with the little time that I've got left, I'm going to do that through these bucket list coaches, because there's a lot of people out there that I'm not going to say need help, but seem to be putting up their hand for, saying, I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about that. And there's some big, problems out there in the workplace and also in individuals. I talked about depression earlier. I just want to see a lot happier world and more fulfilled world. So that's how people can get involved in that, either as a client doing the bucket list stuff, speak to a bucket list coach, or become a coach.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, buddy. And hope to see you soon in Australia. Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye.